Welcome everyone, my name is Kamil from the Video Impera team, and today I would like to discuss a bit how to engage Hoplite Phalanx. And I know some of you might have some troubles with it, and hopefully I'll be able to address some of the concerns or maybe some tricks that you can use to help out with your battles. Of course, some of it is basically due to how game engine is working as intended, like 4 out of 7 times or whatever, whatever number you would like to pick, it's not really reliable. But of course, some of stuff I would like to address is also very grounded in history. And to start, well, I guess most of you are pretty aware of what Hoplite Phalanx is, and it's basically a wall of shields with pointy sticks, and I would say very tough wall of shields with very sharp pointy sticks, and has been pretty dominant way of combat for quite some time in parts of Europe, ancient Europe, and in the time frame of our campaign, of Grand Campaign, which starts in early 3rd century BC. You could say outdated, but I really wouldn't say it's a right word. There's no such thing as really outdated heavy concept of heavy infantry. Their tactics might be outdated, but like the hoplite equipment itself, I'm pretty sure that under right command, hoplite army, even like few centuries later, would still do fine. It's just, how do you utilize the strengths of the formation rather than just sticking to one tactic that might not really be correct for the scenario you are in. And probably this is why also Romans were such a dominant force later, because they were able to adapt both from their defeats and from their victories. They would be able to use what makes sense, and then try to add some Roman spice to it. But going to the crux of the issue, in terms of Divide Impera and Room 2, how to fight Hoplite Phalanx. Just don't do it. I know it sounds weird, but you don't have to fight hoplites. They are, especially in case of AI, once they enable the formation, they got a large speed debuff. This means they are really slow, and you can fight them, but why? If they are still, like, let's say you don't control flanks, your cavalry is still looking it out on the flanks, or you haven't beaten in the forces like other infantry that is covering flanks of phalanx. Focus there, just roll around them, because what you want to do is, of course, you want to keep hoplites occupied, but you don't really need to fight them, at least not until you have to. You can try to disengage, like, force them to come to you and then fall back, or maybe you can even try to split them, like try to increase gaps between like your units, so maybe they will try to go after them and creating some openings that you can use and then charge in. But this is just a frontal combat, and frontal combat is really the strength of hoplites. You don't want to fight them from the front unless you have longer sticks, like pikemen, like our favorite Macedonian boys. They can do well against hoplites because they can outreach them. And of course, if you have large discrepancy in quality of units, like let's say you have regular Athenian hoplites that are of course good, they are heavy infantry, they are solid troops, but they are like regulars, they are not anything exceptional, they are not like elite units. So for example, if you have let's say late Roman legionnaires, or even better cataphract legionnaires, and you send them against Athenian hoplites, they'll probably do rather fine frontally, because when you think about it, their fighting ways are similar. Like Romans can also do a shield wall, pick their swords and just stab their way through, and in Hoplite Phalanx, of course, they have spears, but they are, depending on the interpretation you want, they're holding them in overarm stance, at least they should, which would really decrease their range. Or even if they don't use like overarm, they use like underarm, like above shields, sort of like in the movie 300, which like the grip itself is fine, is perfectly fine. They still lose a lot of range due to how they hold their spirits. So you can close in, especially if you have large shield like Romans have. But yeah, frontally avoid them, engage them if you have longer sticks, or you just have good enough troops that you are like confident that they will either hold for a long time without taking much casualties, or you can maybe even punch their way through with brutal force. Ideally, go around their flanks, and yeah, that's really the weakness of phalanx, their flanks. Outside of getting like normal combat debuffs from being flanked in melee, they don't have their shields on their backs, and the way we coded the bonuses for formations for phalanx, they actually get like a armor bonus from the front, but it's decreased from the back. So if you get some ranged units into back of hoplites, they'll get an extra damage like compared to other units. Just to to play around with the balance of battles, and like to show some stuff with tactics better, like flanking. And yeah, others of course, cavalry. Cavalry will smash them from the rear. Just remember not to leave cavalry too long in melee, even like from the rear, because like in Rome 1 pike, when like you have a pike phalanx and you had a pikeman use his pike and then draw his sword, both weapons had separate stats. Like pike had like a bonus versus cavalry and stuff like this, sword didn't. So when cavalrymen engaged pikemen in Rome 1 at close distance, they had no bonus against cavalry. But going back to Rome 2, there is no difference between like when soldiers are in formation, and if they hold their pike or sword, they have same stats. And formation is giving bonus against cavalry, because otherwise they could a bit suck against them. So yeah, if cavalry attacks hoplites from the backs, they still have the spears and they still have all of their bonuses against cavalry. So just don't stay in melee even from rear like too long. It's just not worth it. Better just charge in, fall back, repeat. They will eventually lose. And other part to address, I've also heard, well not heard, I read some comments, especially about hoplites, like holding forever, like I engaged them with like this and that unit, and they are like still fighting. This mod is bullshit. And yeah, I would agree with it. Like nobody would be able to hold for long in this situation, but at least from what I checked, like dozens and dozens of times, is that if you do stuff right, it will work as intended. So let's say like play on battles on normal difficulty, unless you are confident, or like in late game where you just want to offset your bonuses that you can max out as a player against what our AI can do, then yeah, play on hard. But in normal situation, when there are like no artificial bonuses to AI units, they should crumble. Like even heavy hoplites will crumble against like medium units from the back with relative ease. And like the key is that you don't want to engage too many units against one target. So let's say you have one enemy hoplite unit, and usually I think the issue is mostly to like the elite hoplites, like the best of the best hoplites, like shield bearers, or like Athenian Lugadis, or like Spartan hoplites. And yeah, they're like the most elite soldiers you can find on the field for these nations. Like they're not just guys that do it from time to time. Like usually for the top hoplites, being a hoplite, it's their job. Like Logados, like the Athenian elite troops. They were like not really numerous, but they were just their only purpose in life was war. Same Spartans, and they were like I would like to say maybe like medieval knights. So basically, they started early and they just made a living out of being able to do war better than others. And yeah, you can see it. Like they have very high morale, and even if they're flanked, like think about it for a second. If you are an elite soldier, you are information, and then you turn around and you see like a loads of peasants charging at you. Will you stand with your back to them, or will you just do this? Hey, John, some bunch of fucking peasants are attacking us from the behind. What should we do? Turn around? Hey, we are not flanked anymore, we are just attacking them, like engaging them normally with our large shields and heavy armors and swords and spears. So yeah, if you charge like low quality units into the back of most elite hoplites, initially they might do okay, because there's like, you know, initial shock of the charge, like the confusion for a second, and then yeah, for a bit they will actually do more casualties. But if you leave them for very long, they will do better than the guys that are attacking, you know, from the front, definitely. But they might still take casualties, or they won't do kills so fast because they are untrained peasants and they are fighting elite soldiers who see them around, so they just die. But anyway, yeah, if you take anything that is better than like low quality units, like let's say you have two hastati units and you are engaging one of those top tier hoplites, they will do fine even if you leave them from the back. But when you think about it, okay, so we have one unit engaging from the front, one from the back, and the guys from the front are slowly getting some casualties, and the guys from the back are doing fine. They're like killing these hoplites like with like 3-to-1 ratio, so they're like winning the exchange, but it's not as fast as you would like. So what do? A lot of people just do fast forward and just take the casualties. But why? If you have one unit from the back, one from the front, and you see the front unit from the front start not doing so much, disengage. They're hoplites. They won't charge, and they won't go after them because they already have a trouble at their backs. So what you can do is just disengage units and then let them rest a bit, charge back, because by the time they charge again, hoplites already turned around to fight the guys that were attacking them from the back. So their back is now exposed to the guys that they were previously fighting from the front. Use it. And yeah, why I said 2 units? Ideally, you should never use more than 2 units to attack single target. That's why if you have like, I saw people say like, I sent like 4 units and they encircled them and they didn't die, or like they didn't lose fast enough. Well, yeah, because how many, like, think about it, if you send like a group of 1,000 people against 200 and they are like fully encircled and whatever, how many can actually attack them? Few. But from the game perspective, even if single model is in combat, the unit is getting fatigued, they are getting tired. So basically just send a couple of units that only some of the guys will be able to engage enemy, while everyone is getting slowly tired. And they are losing their effectiveness, they are losing their hit chance because their melee attack is being hindered by the fatigue. So they are not able to do much at this point, or as much as you would like to. So just keep in mind, don't engage more than 2 units against single target. And when it comes to cavalry, it's the same story. I read some people saying that I sent like 3 units to charge into this unit of hoplites from the back and then didn't do much because you messed up your charge. That's it. you should only send like one cavalry unit against one target, like maybe two, but it's a bit overkill unless they go from like, you know, one goes from here, one from here, and they do like this. Should be fine. But if you have like, you know, 4 units and they are like, let's say this is how wide is formation of the 4 units and this is their target, well, what will they do? They will all try to go to the target sites, but there is not enough space. They will go into each other's way, they will slow down the charge, there will, you know, horses will hit each other, they won't, you know, die from it, of course, though they should, but they will just, you know, they will be going after one target and they will just obstruct the charge. Charge bonus runs out, their momentum runs out, charge sucks. Because almost nobody really had a, you know, the power that would be from like a single charge, like, you know, single unit charging at them. So keep that in mind. 2 units of infantry against one of hoplites, maybe one of cavalry. Try to engage them with ranged units if you can. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And probably some people might say, okay, what about like using ranged units before melee, like before anything starts? Should you should you use like archers or slingers or whatever to attack hoplites from the front? You can, but don't, because they have large shields and they are tough. So it's pretty much a waste of ammo. Of course you can do it, but if you, my suggestion would be, if you want to use your ammunition on front of phalanx units, don't spread it out. Focus fire on one unit, and you don't really need to route unit. Like, one of the issue that stems from the hit point system that Total War games are now using is that models have set number of hit points, and it's not always perfectly spread out when it comes to being under missile fire. And a lot of people say, well, ranged units are weak because they only killed this and this amount of people. Yes, they killed, but how much damage they did? That's the question. Because like melee units, they will like if you have 2 soldiers fighting in melee, they will fight until, you know, one loses all of the hit points and dies. With ranged units, the damage is spread out. So let's say they maybe like archers did like 20 kills, but they did like a damage worth of like 80 kills actually, and the enemy is weak target. And you can think about it the same way, like don't use all of the ammo on front of the hoplites, but if you have like key hoplite units you would like to weaken, like let's say you see levy hoplites, throw everything at them, like 1-2 volleys of like 3-4 units, and even if they will still have, you know, a lot of numbers, the guys that are left alive are really weakened. And you can, you know, go after them, punch a hole through the line, and then, you know, wedge into it and try to, you know, weaken other units that way. And yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, this is my second video when I discuss some of the Rome 2 mechanics, and first in many years. So if you like it, you know, let us know. You know, give us a like, drop a comment, and yeah, if you would like to hear more from us, or at least from me, in this formula about, you know, Divided Impera, game mechanics, or history in general, let us know. Drop a comment and let us know what topic would you be interested in listening from me. Stay tuned, and remember guys, history is awesome.